So my friends, welcome to a new crypto update video. Bitcoin is currently at 94,000 US dollars. Very, very little has happened over the weekend after we had our breakout from our range here on Friday or Thursday, which we formed last week, rising up to almost 98,000 US dollars. We have now returned to our range at the beginning of the week. Whether that was it for now or if we will rise again, we will definitely look at that in today's update video. Also, what else is on the agenda for this week? How do we approach the traditional markets? That means also the DAX, whether we see a short opportunity there and what might be happening. With a gold entry, you will definitely find out all of this in today's update video. So definitely stay tuned until the end. There is really a lot to discuss here, including possible setups for this week. So as I said, definitely stay tuned until the end. But before we start, feel free to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, to join the free Telegram talk and Signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, feel free to join. You can find the link for free in the video description below. And if you're still looking for an exchange where you can trade everything we discuss here, feel free to sign up with my partner exchange BingX. By doing so, you support the channel or me, and you also get a top exchange with, yes, all kinds of coins. You can trade, you can stake, you can do everything essentially. So just sign up using the link in the video description below. So, no time to lose. Bitcoin at 94,000 US dollars. As mentioned, it has behaved relatively calmly over the weekend. We only just got our smaller dump, so to speak, heading downwards. Or rather, last night. I would say the target zone is still slightly missed. So the target was up here at 98,200 or the 100,000 US dollars, which I would still like to reach. And honestly, I haven't written it off yet. I somehow expect a small fake pump upwards during the day or today, at the latest by tomorrow. That means a small fake out so that we at least capture the liquidity in this area up here. I can show you quite well what I mean with the heat map here. On one hand, we have quite a bit of liquidity here at approximately 96,000 US dollars, and of course up here at 98,000 US dollars. We should definitely capture this area. From a daily perspective, it looks exactly the same. That means my plan, or rather, yes, my plan for today is to go up again before we eventually get our dump down here. So I actually expect a bigger dump this week at the latest. You'll also see in the traditional markets what I mean, and that's why I believe the same for Bitcoin. It could, of course, be that we only capture the liquidity here in the range of 95 to 96,000 US dollars. That would be entry number one for those who want it that way. And entry number two would then ultimately be up here at 98 to 100,000 in US dollars. Let's see if it turns out that way in the end. The funding rates have also slightly increased, but they are still within an absolute range. So we don't have excessively high funding rates here that would make us say, wow, we absolutely need to go down. We absolutely need to liquidate a lot of longs. That's not the reason, but the funding rates have slightly increased compared to the last few days. But well, it's also the weekend. It is usually the case that the funding rates slightly increase, because in the end, mostly only up, retail is present in the market. So that's roughly the plan for today. Awesome. At least that's what I assume, that we will ultimately pick up the liquidity up here, and then should first orient ourselves significantly downwards. What also comes into play is that we have the Fed interest rate decision on Wednesday. Let's see what they come up with in the end. On Wednesday at 8 o'clock. We might even do a live stream, but I'm not entirely sure yet if I'll manage it. But definitely keep it in mind. Otherwise, it's relatively quiet regarding the news situation this week, except for initial-ish and continuing jobless claims on Thursday. All right, let's move over to the altcoins. How's it looking with Ethereum? Ethereum hasn't really done much either in the end. We've moved out of our range. We still have this huge block of liquidity up here, actually up to nearly 2,000 US dollars. So that's actually another target here, but for that we would need a very, very strong pump during the day to really capture the liquidity up here in this range. Honestly, I don't expect such a strong pump. If it happens that we go up towards 2,000 US dollars or 1,960, that would at least be a first short entry. The second short entry would really be up here at 2,000 US dollars. Honestly, it's too risky for me at the lower edge, because as mentioned, if Bitcoin should rise towards 98,000 US dollars, which is a possibility, it will be difficult for us to still rise towards 2,000 US dollars with Ethereum. That means for now, I'm staying completely away from this and will decide spontaneously if and when to engage, focusing entirely on Bitcoin for the time being. What's the situation with Solana? Solana is actually even more boring than the rest of the market over the weekend. We are still within the range here. Here too, I would naturally wish for the same scenario, that we go a bit higher, at least to absorb the weekend's liquidity before ultimately continuing the downward path here as well. Actually, very, very little has happened with the altcoins over the weekend. I think Ethereum was one of the ones with the most movement, in quotes. And of course, SUI, but I'll cover SUI separately in another video later. And otherwise, yes, Solana is also very, very quiet for me. No further entries, and I generally stay away from Solana because, as you can see here on the daily view, there's a huge, huge God candle here that we should definitely fill sooner or later. Not now. I don't believe in it yet, but possibly when a bottom is eventually found. Yes, let's move over to the traditional markets. Gold. Gold is still not at our entry point, or rather, it hasn't moved into our entry point yet. For me, still here, the 200-day SMA has now moved slightly upwards. We are already at 3,176, where the 200-day SMA is located. This means for us, at the moment, the entry has only slightly oriented upwards. That means the red box for our entry is from $3,176 down to 3,121. That means I still want to see it go down there, possibly then during the course of the week. We don't know how the interest rate decision could ultimately affect it. It could possibly have the effect that we see a small dump here before we rise upwards again, but I believe the interest rates will remain the same anyway. It shouldn't really have an impact on the gold price. Over to the traditional markets. I already gave a brief statement about the DAX in the Telegram group yesterday about how I would envision it. I wish, or I would like to wish, that we could still capture the liquidity towards $23,300 over the course of the day. It would be another pump, yes, but it would fit with the US markets, which we will get to shortly, of about 1%. Once we've captured that, we can then dump significantly downwards from here. We also have a small inefficiency here. However, I will probably open the first position at 23,200 baht and then slowly hedge in or definitely work with two positions here and definitely take the movement downwards. Why? Let's look at the traditional markets for this. We see here the Dow Jones is just before the golden pocket. It still has some room. That is precisely the move I still expect with the DAX, maybe another 1% upwards, because ultimately we have the same scenario with the traditional markets pushing up another 1 or 2%. It would naturally push Bitcoin towards 98K again, because positive stock markets, especially towards Monday, could bring Bitcoin to new heights, in quotes, new heights. Then the S&P 500 is already in the golden pocket. I don't believe that we will just break through easily here. I can't imagine it, and you can feel it right away. That means, except for the Dow Jones, we are actually everywhere now in our golden pocket. And that means the Dow Jones still has room up to 43,000 points. The rest is already pretty much at the limit and has now reached our weeks-long targets, I would say, from the bottom side. And now a decision should slowly be approaching. And I can somehow imagine that maybe even Paul will finally give us the coup de grace, that the markets, which are already going down a bit, might then face negative prospects. That could push the markets down further, but that's all still a bit of a future melody. Let's just wait and see. That's the rough outlook for today. That means crypto, stocks, etc. Might see another rise today, and then we'll see how things develop. That's it from my side for sure. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to write your opinion in the comments below, what you think about it. Do you say bullish week? Do you say bearish week? Write it down below. And otherwise, I would say thank you very, very much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, activate the bell so you get notified when a new video comes out. Otherwise, we'll hear from each other later for the SUI update. Until then, bye, and stay cool, Mo.